Aparte de lo que ya tuvimos, vamos a tener hoy anunció
Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, live from Los Angeles.
Live, man.
We're live.
It's exciting.
This is not us. Welcome. You know what happened is I took the clip from yesterday thinking it was the intro, and I'm like, hold on a second. That's a very long. Anyways.
Unfortunately, we're not having micheladas. We're not having listeners watching us in person tonight, but I am sipping on water and hanging out with my cat. That's exactly the same thing, right?
Welcome to Mexican Soccer Show. This is what happens when I put in production for a little bit. So yeah. We can go back into and see what was happening back there. This is legit. Look at it. I think this is our first big production. Look at that. Yeah, that's the whole video that's there. All right. Welcome to Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Luis Vasquez. With me to my left. Can we do like that whole hi, Owen, kind of thing? It's Owen, and my light just went down. Owen, Cesar, and Carlos, welcome. A great hour of Mexican football. Let's start with Owen. How are you, buddy?
Really good, Wisa. Great to see everyone. I think it would be cool maybe just to keep splicing in small clips of that live event last Wednesday. Now, throughout the rest of the show, I think you've started it. You've got to finish it out, right?
It's true, right?
Just a suggestion. I don't have the last say on production here, but my 2 cents.
Glad to see Mr. Cesar back in San Diego. Got to spend 3 days with Cesar last week with all Liga MX Awesome. Man, how are you doing?
Yeah,
back home?
Back home. Like I said, no micheladas or live audience tonight, but at least it's still a live show though, and then getting to hang out with not only you but also Owen and also Carlos, which I believe, if I'm getting this right, is it? Am I pointing? Yeah, there. Am I pointing the right direction, or is it that way? Hey, there we go.
There. Is it? What is it? The Brady Bunch? Is it the?
Yeah, I would have pointed. I would have pointed, but then I had Carlos, and I was like, "How am I going to do this diagonally?" The diagonal point. It's like if it's not going to struggle one.
It's here. So there.
Oh no! I had it first. There we go. Yeah.
We're having way too much fun with this. Carlos, welcome back. You haven't been on. You went to Japan. You had surgery, right? I mean, there's so much that happened, Carlos. Just a whole show on what's going on with you, man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot coming on too. I'll be happy to share some stuff with you guys soon. I hope.
Cool.
But obviously, the first thing that is coming, at least with us in Telemundo, is the qualifiers.
Yes.
Both the Costa Rica game and the Panama will be on our air. So getting ready to get geared up for those qualifiers.
Perfect. Saying hi already to Giovanna, who's waiting for the host. She's always on. Alex, Zeke, and Jehais. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hi, everybody. We have a backpack show today. We're back. Everybody is back in their houses, in their homes, in their studios where we're at, and we're gonna be talking all about the World Cup qualifying, right? So yeah. So shout out to Cesar, ex-player from La Banca in Watsonville, California. There you go, Cesar.
Oh yeah. Oh,
There you go.
Someone knows me about wow, my pickup day is over in the Watsonville area. Dang.
All right, guys. Really quick, for those of you that got to see last week. Awesome. So many people came up to us from the community match to ACTA Charlie event. It was just really, really cool to see everybody. And thank you for those that came out to the live show. We apologize. Some people were like, I thought you were going to have, some like speakers and we were able to listen to it. And we're like, oh man, maybe we should have done that. But it was a lot of fun. Cesar, I know I had a lot of fun.
I mean, I had an absolute blast. We got to hang out with the Cooligans. We got to talk to some people Medio Tiempo. We got to talk to some TMJ athletes. What was his name? I can't believe I forgot. Sergio, right? Who runs what is it? The restaurant / bar that we're at. Yeah. So it was an absolute blast. And of course, we got to go to the Wednesday event too. Got to hang out with Fernando Fiore. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Fernando Fiore, that was fun. He is. Oh man, there's a reason why, and he's all over the place. Not that I had a lot of energy. Fernando Fiore has a lot of energy. Carlos, I'm sure you met him right?
I actually, we used to play together on Saturdays. He has a pickup game with some older people, and they call it the Golden Years League. My dad was part of that, and I will go and hang out and play with them for a little bit until they decided I was too fast for them. I was relegated to go play with my friends.
Well, there you go. But anyway, he was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. All right, let's get right to it. Right. So actually, Lou's saying, who went to Los Bukis with their moms? No, not I.
Don't have. I think. How much were the tickets? Right? How much were the tickets for that thing? I don't know. Like it seemed pretty. Like it must have been really expensive, right? They were playing at SoFi Stadium or something.
Yeah. They were playing. So I did not go. So, I think Amy's mom went there. Yep.
Really?
Amy's saying $1 billion. She got a shirt. Looking into her social media, she got a shirt from her mom. So we're there. All right, qualifiers. We're here. Owen and I, right before this, we're saying, like, the World Cup is here, right? Like it's actual World Cup, and somebody's saying, well, it's not till next year, but right, the World Cup finals is next year, but the World Cup has started, so you can say we're in World Cup territory already. A lot of people have a misconception because of that, and here we go. It just felt like we just played a couple weeks ago and lost that final, and we're already in World Cup qualifying. We're going to be talking all about the call-ups. So lots and lots of news. So here we go. Get your questions ready. I don't know where they're at. On the chats. Well, we'll be putting them in there. And somebody's making some dishes out back there, I think. Or there's some pans and pans that I'm hearing, but we'll see what's happening. All right. Let's first go into what is happening with the qualifiers. And as you can see, we're going to put in, here is the schedule that we have for this Thursday, September 2nd, September 5th, and September 8th. As you can see, all of those games. And ultimately, Carlos, the octagonal, used to be the Hex, but now there's obviously 8 teams. What's the big storyline? Not necessarily just Mexico, but as far as the schedule, are teams worried about so many games? For example, 3 games in a span of a week, the traveling and all of that. Like, have you heard anything with that? Or on a personal note, do you think it's going to affect this octagonal?
I mean, besides the fact of still dealing with COVID and all the restrictions that we've been seeing, and especially a team that I thought it was going to be really impacted, it seems like it's not going to be as bad. Like Jamaica, who has a lot of players in England, and England was not letting them out. I particularly like that there's 8 teams. I feel that there's some sort of justice and fairness to the fact of having some teams that should be there competing for that, and they allow them to have that possibility. You still have the same amount of tickets, so at the end of the day, it's technically the same. But having to pack those 3 games, at least it gives you an idea of like, well, I was able to rack enough amount of points to then have a cushion. Because before you will come play 1 game and then leave, because having only 6 teams, sometimes it was like, okay, we'll go play 1 game and then everybody go back to Europe and then come back and then go back. And those things that actually affected, because first you couldn't rack as many points because you were only playing like 1 or 2 games, and it was all of a sudden you had four points in a span of 4 months. And that pressure actually got into your head because you come to the next, round of the hex and you were like, wait, I tied 2 games. I only have 2 points. Like, I might be out. And I think this is going to help out mentally for the teams that actually are able to get wins, to have a little cushion and face the next date a little better.
Yeah. I think what stands out to me too is, especially with those 8 teams, like and I've talked about this in previous pods, but like, you can't take most, if not all, these teams lightly. Like, it's quite obvious. We saw what El Salvador can do. We've seen that Honduras, they can traditionally like make things difficult. Obviously, the U.S. and Canada, they're really making things tough for Mexico. Costa Rica, Panama, Jamaica. Like, you can't take any of these teams lightly. Yes, obviously, we expect Mexico to be in the top 3. We expect them to directly qualify for the World Cup, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be interesting. I hope it is rough. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope it's
kind of like, I'm split between, it's going to be tough because they're always tough, but it's not a Costa Rica that we're like, oh my gosh, we were scared of. It's not a Panama that we've had better Panamas before. Honduras is not in a good place.
How many times have we said that during World
Cup? No, true.
Yeah.
They're always good teams, right? When we're like, in Costa Rica in 2014, that's fine. But as far as, I don't know what I remember saying, kind of like, this is the weakest CONCACAF we've seen outside of Mexico and U.S., right? Because I don't see a Costa Rica that has, a Brian Reese ready to go in his peak form. They're still using him. Keylor Navas, obviously a key, but can you tell me another player in Costa Rica that is better than one of our players?
Well, I think Costa Rica is going through the same process as Panama is going, where it's more of the same generation, right?
Exactly.
It's still the Brian Reese, the Celso Borges, the
they call it Kendall Watson. I mean,
exactly. The Brian Oviedo, like it's still some of the same players, but they still have a lot of experience. And
True.
to me, the biggest thing and being there for those games in the past, in qualifiers past, those environments, they always take a toll on you. I've been to El Salvador, I've been to Honduras, I've been to El Rommel Fernández, I've been to El Estadio Nacional in Costa Rica, and those environments take a toll on you. And to me, one of the things I was saying about like how good this USA team is that we see with all these players are in Europe, they haven't faced these kind of places, and I feel that that's going to be the real test, because it's not about being good players. We know they're good players. You see every week the Pulisic, the Reynas, the McKennies. Like, how are you doing?
Qualifiers different.
But when you have to qualify and you have to perform in El Salvador and El Cuscatlán, it's not the same thing. And the same thing happens for the Mexican national team. I mean, when you see that you're going to be able to, you don't see it as much on this call-up particularly, but when you're going to combine those players in the Olympics with the ones and that have already been in the roster, you still need to go to those places and scrapping a point with everything that it involves between the field, the environment, the other team, the refereeing. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy, and that's always what a lot of people take for granted.
That's the big factor here. I think. Well, it plays into what Carlos was saying. I think plays into, the 2 big overarching points here of the whole qualifiers, and I think they both end up favoring Mexico. I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy for Mexico in these qualifiers, but they have 2 big advantages. One, talking about the United States, for example, you've got all these players playing in Europe, Canada to a lesser extent as well. A lot of guys who are shining at the top level in Europe. Both of those teams have never gone, most of those players and their coaches have never gone through a World Cup qualifying cycle. Then you could look at El Salvador, you could look at Costa Rica. Okay, El Salvador doesn't have the experience, and Hugo Perez took over in April. Then you've got Costa Rica, maybe some of those players have the experience. Luis Fernando Suarez took over in June, right? So you've got a lot of situations where, Panama, the coach, hasn't gone through a World Cup qualifying cycle. A lot of these teams are untested. Tata Martino hasn't taken Mexico through a World Cup qualifying cycle, but he has taken Paraguay through, and he has some experience with Argentina in a World Cup qualifying cycle as well. And then obviously a lot of the Mexicans with that experience. And then secondly, this idea of playing 3 matches per FIFA round, I think is something that favors the United States and Mexico ultimately. The 2 teams that are most able to rotate, that have the deepest squads, the deepest pools, you're not going to be able to play the same players for 3 games in all likelihood. So being able to rotate and still field a strong squad, I think is something that's going to really favor Mexico and the United States as we play out these 14 games.
I mean, I'm sure we're about to talk about it soon, but you look at a perfect example like a Jamaica, where yes, they're bringing in some noteworthy talent from abroad, but because of COVID restrictions, some of that noteworthy talent isn't going to be able to play up against Mexico. And when you look at some of the alternates, it's just not the same Jamaica. It's not the same Jamaican side that's at full power. And when you look at Mexico's roster, yes, I mean, there looks like, there could be some players who are going to be missing. We already saw someone like Johan Vasquez is going to be available, but I still think that there's a decent amount of depth here in relation, at least in comparison to other CONCACAF opponents.
Yeah, we'll talk about the roster next, but overall, your feelings about this World Cup qualifying cycle is what I want to get at. Like I said, I'm not necessarily saying this is going to be an easier cycle than other times, but kind of like Owen said, there are some favoring factors towards Mexico because of what's happening. At the same time, there's I don't see those players outside of the U.S. and maybe Canada going, with a better generation that's in, but I don't fear a Honduras that we feared in the past in Honduras. Again, it's still going to be extremely hard, but there were times where you could say we could lose it down there. We lost many times in Central America. The first game against Costa Rica. It's not going to be a full stadium. I think it's only 3,000 fans that are going to be there. At the same time, that's also favoring, and even there's not going to be any fans again the Jamaica game. But we'll see how COVID kind of goes in there. I know it's a full stadium in Panama. Believe me, I got a friend over there. That they're ready to go there, and it's going to be crazy. And I think, but again, it's not the same Panama that we're seeing from other times. So I don't know what to say, like to predict, because it's the World Cup qualifying. It's crazy. Win at home, tie on the road, you're good. You know how we normally have the magic number, Carlos, of like you got to win 14, get 14 points. I don't know what's the magic number this time around.
I don't know. It's like the new Liga MX like season. It's just like, what is that magic number now?
Is it 17 point? Is it however we can?
But so, you'll have to add how many more games are you playing, right?
Yeah. Normally we're like, all right, let's get to this magic number.
Before you were playing exactly. You were playing 10 matches before, right? Now you're playing 14, so that means it has to be like 20. 20 points will be the magic number there.
14 was the magic number always. Legend Fernie saying, good thing we're going to face weaker Jamaica squad first game because they'll have their best players. Best players on for Panama. So, yeah, let's see what's saying. The Central American teams don't have fans come to the stadiums. They don't think we'll struggle. I don't think we'll struggle. I think it's still going to be hard. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know where I'm at in that. So yeah, saying hi to Sergio Tristan, who's saying, oh, you're Mexico and Firewall. If he's really everything Sergio's been saying is about.
And then us dressing in black and green is not helping his mojo either.
That's why I'm here. Sergio's coming, making sure the day it happens. Saying hi to everybody.
Green jerseys. There's a little bit of connection there, right?
Was it green and black? It's like I'm not helping him with the green and black.
By the way, is that what year is that training jersey?
2007.
Yeah. I'm like, you know why? All of a sudden I saw Bardo in it. I saw like it's weird. Like it just gave me flashback of even Nettie. I don't know why.
It's like as soon as they signed with the 3 stripes after the 2006 World Cup, I think this was the first one.
This is the first
I
one.
went to the closet. I'm like, which one is the one that I can wear that looks like the most unique? It's like, this. I grabbed that one.
Owen's wearing the 2018 one.
I'm wearing Old Navy 2016.
You know what I thought? I really thought it was the new Rosa Americana one.
Dude, I came so close to buy. Like I went to like some Adidas outlets and I saw that they had the Mexico jersey. I was like, oh my god, are they gonna have it on sale? But it was $90. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, next time I see you, I got you. We'll get you. There's a chance for Mexico to get points and build cushion. So we'll see. All right. Before we talk about, actually, you know what? We'll do that at the end. A little prediction how many points we're going to get. Let's talk about the call-up, right? So just kind of snuck up. Everyone had their call-ups on Thursday, and we're all waiting to see when Mexico's going to do it. The days of Piojo telling us that it's going to be the day, we're going to release it tomorrow at 2 p.m. We don't know when it is, but here they are. I'm trying to squint and see how we have 4 keepers. Carlos, 4 keepers?
I don't mind the 4 goalkeepers. What I don't like personally, and this is again a personal preference, is the fact that we don't have anybody under 30 years old on those 4 goalkeepers.
Agreed.
I feel like at this point, either Malagón or Carlos Acevedo or even Jurado should be on that group, because chances are you're not gonna get to him when you have to play. I mean, here it's more than obvious that it's either Memo Ochoa or Talavera if you decide to start either or, and you're in pretty good place. But if you're going to call Jonathan Orozco and Cota, I mean, not that they're not good goalkeepers, but I feel like it's time to start making that transition. And especially if you already have goalkeepers that kind of went through the, to the reps of a national team, even if it's at the U23 or the U20 level, you could start, bringing one of them in. The 4 goalkeepers, I don't mind it because, it's always, God forbid, something happens and then Memo gets injured. And then at that point, you're 1 player down. And yes, Talavera will be the next up, but then what happens if he gets a red card, right? Like you can never be just like hanging there and having a player have to step in if you're short.
Yeah, is it because of the 3 games? Is it you have 2 for 2? I think that could be it, because it was kind of odd that we have that. You have that. There are some players missing. We'll talk about that, but let's Owen, the defense, Araujo, Gallardo, Montes, Ramirez, Rodriguez, I can't read, Jorge Sanchez, Sepulveda, Johan Vasquez, who's not going to be there. And I think that's it.
That's it. Yeah, I think more or less what was expected. There was talk before the call-up that Salcedo wasn't going to be there, and he's not there. I think Vasquez now being injured throws things up in the air in terms of what the center back pairing is going to be. For as much flack as they get, and I think in a lot of cases it's deserved, that Chalk and Gallardo get, I think they're going to be the starters at right back and left back. Gallardo has the most minutes, most matches under Tata. Chalk is 3rd there in minutes played under Tata Martino. So both of them are the clear starters in those positions. And then at center back, you were looking, okay, you'd have Vasquez and then potentially Nestor Araujo partnering him. I think now that Vasquez is injured, potentially you could see Araujo move to left center back. He's played there some for Celta Vigo, was just playing there this weekend for Celta Vigo. And then you could give a chance to Cesar Montes. I think that would be what I would favor. We'll have to see what he does there, but I think there's not a lot of mystery at right and left back, especially at left back now with Arteaga potentially banned. We don't know exactly what's going on there, the reasons why he wasn't called up, but he's not there. So there's not a lot of competition for for Gallardo at left back.
In those circles of Arteaga, let's just get it out. I mean, what's surfacing is that the coaching staff wasn't happy that he declined for the Olympics for personal reasons. Carlos, do you know anything else? It's just kind of what's been said, right?
No, that's what it was, and especially because you're skipping on both tournaments, right? And there was no I feel that there was not a good clarification on what those personal reasons were, because otherwise they will be favored. They still need to respect the player's decision. But if it seems like the coaching staff and the federation overall, or the people in charge of the national team, felt that there was a little bit of like not wanting to go more than, yes, I actually need to skip because of whatever was happening.
And that's where I'm just kind of like, I think all the players have been like, hey, I want to focus on my up here, be better. I'll be ready to go. I mean, there's no communication there. I always feel that there's somebody that not communicate the reasons why they're not in the national team, or they didn't want to, or something else is happening. There's every cycle. And it's things because Arteaga's doing great. I mean,
and especially since I really thought that there was a chance he could potentially surpass Gallardo at that left back position. I would still probably have Gallardo as my left back, but I think Arteaga was maybe even just one good performance away from really becoming a go-to starter in that position.
And now the news would be, when's he coming back? Is he coming back? Is he going to throw a fit? Did it teach him a lesson?
I've heard, again, this is not confirmed. This is just the gossip I heard was that it's not a permanent ban. It's just kind of like, oh, well, you don't want to come, then you come. It's kind of like what they did
a slap on the wrist, like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, it was kind of like what they did to Charito and Vela for missing the Ulster game. It was like, oh, you don't want to come, you're not playing El Tráfico. Same thing.
They were there.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I didn't miss it because I wanted to, but I guess I'm here. So it's like,
I guess
that's fine.
they
You're
were there.
still not playing
They
the
were
Trápico.
commentating. They were at the skills challenge.
I'm sure there's some sort of TV obligation there. Be like, oh, and technically Chicharito's here, like Fox and through the end. Don't worry about it. Like,
King Luis Reese said, I don't understand how Angulo, Llorona, and Reyes didn't get a call up. Okay, Reyes?
I think
it's Salvadorias.
Yeah,
maybe Salvador
Reyes.
Yeah, I think I'm excited by Salvador Reyes, but I think I don't know. Like, would I throw Salvador Reyes immediately into a World Cup qualifier? I'm not sure. I do think if Salvador Reyes though continues to play at the level that he's playing at and really excelling with America, then yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before he gets a call up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still not entirely sure. I feel, I know, like keeping an eye on him over at Xolos, like. I don't know. I'm still not entirely.
And there's one thing that can't get missed, and it's the fact that yes, we saw these players play in the Olympics and the U23 national team. They did great against another two U23 players and the Olympics with U23 players. It's not the same going into a senior team. Exactly. So there's a little bit of that sometimes. Like you do feel they're doing well. Obviously, they play every week in the national and in the league, and then you see them excel. But there's still that little, worry that I don't know if he's ready at that point. So we'll see.
For sure, yeah. Carlos and Cesar, we were having that discussion on the show a couple of weeks ago as well. It's not the same to be doing really well at the Olympic tournament, but also that can get you a ticket into the squad, which it has for a lot of those players. I think there are 11 players from that Olympic team who are in this call up. Obviously, you have to take into account some of them were already senior members of this national team. But a lot of them hadn't really played much at all for Mexico, period, right? Had maybe played 1 game, 2 games maximum, right? So it's unlikely that you're going to get called to start against Jamaica or start in San Jose if you've never really played a meaningful match for Mexico at senior level. I think that's why if we're building out what our ideal 11s would be or what the lineup we think Martino will field against Jamaica, I don't think they're going to be more than maybe 2 or 3 players from those Olympics, and you'd be including Guillermo Ochoa in that.
Yeah, and that's why you see someone like Cata Dominguez stepping in too. Like, is he the most exciting central defender option? No, of course. Would he be in any of our ideal 11s? Probably not. But is he a player that has more significant in Mexican national team experience than a lot of those young guys? Most definitely, and I think that it's someone that you can slot in pretty easily. And he's not the most exciting player, but he won't be overwhelmed by something like these World Cup qualifiers.
We're slowly building our starting 11 when we're talking right here in this build my lineup that Cesar brought in. So I did 4-3-3 just in there. So we'll
which what they'll play. That's exactly what they'll play. I mean, Tata is not gonna move away from that.
Yeah. I'm looking for it on my 4-3-3. So what do we have? What do we have in the for the back? Say on the left.
So are we just saying like against Jamaica or like just are the best 11? Because I feel like there's gonna be some rotation.
Against Jamaica.
There's gonna be some rotations. Like
the Mexican soccer show star in 11 against Jamaica. That's where we're gonna put it. Who's on the left?
Gallardo.
Yeah.
We got Gallardo. And on the right,
that's gonna be Chaka.
My main guy, Chaka. All right.
I think do we all agree with Araujo? Do we all think Araujo Montes?
Araujo and Montes.
Yeah.
Man, your boy Montes, Cesar. We have that.
All
right. Well, we haven't gotten into kind of going in a bit, but everyone knows it's Edson, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's probably like 100%. Let's see, when we have that. All right. Let's go into we're slowly moving it. Here we go. This is production. Continuing. All right. Jorge Sanchez, Sepúlveda, John Vasquez, we said it. Edson Alvarez, Roberto Alvarado. Then we started getting into the forward/wing/offensive. Antuna, Cordova, Jonathan Dos Santos, Guardado, and Romo. I put more Pineda going up front. Charlie Rodriguez and Rodolfo Pizarro. A few missing, as we know. Hector Herrera still injured from there. right?
Or recovering.
Who else are we missing in the midfield?
Yeah, recovering. Yeah, same thing with
Recovering.
like Chucky, like either not 100% or just like recovering and just trying to find
I
his form.
thought Chuki's ready to go. It's just that the team didn't let him.
Is that what it is?
But
Okay.
they felt it was not necessary for him to have that much traveling right after he's just recovering. He's just getting minutes, and that's why they didn't let him go.
Yeah.
So we're there. Guardado.
Out of the three in the middle, I think it will be Alvarez, Guardado, and maybe Cordova.
Cordova.
Or Jonathan Dos Santos. I don't see them moving away from the experienced players.
Yeah, because I remember I put up like what like I think how Tata sees his depth chart online, and like the one thing that everybody was giving me crap at was like, why would you start Jonah? Why would you start Jonah? I was like, whoa, I would have personally start Jonah. But what I do think is I think that Tata still Tata really does value Jonathan Dos Santos, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 1 to 2. I'm not gonna say 3 starts, but I think he's getting one or two starts within these next 3 games, potentially even starting this Thursday with Guardado. But I think like Carlos was saying, I am fascinated by Guardado and Cordova as well.
So Guardado, Cordova, Edson.
I'm gonna say I think they're gonna go Guardado, Edson, Jonah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But that's my guess.
Jonah and Guardado, huh?
I don't think that's a bad shot. I think I'd prefer Luis Romo in there instead of Jonah, but we'll see if that ends up happening.
Are we going with our best or what we think is going to happen?
You're right. No, I think Romo, Guardado. I think as soon as Herrera is not there, Romo's in 100%.
The situation with Romo and Martino from the matches that Romo's been with the senior side, it seems that Martino thinks of him more as a 5, like as the backup to Edson. Then he sees him as kind of the roaming 8 who can get into the box, score goals, maybe appear in attacking midfield positions, which I think is his best position, right? But I'm not sure that's where Martino will play him consistently, and certainly would consider starting him against Jamaica. I think Jonathan Dos Santos is a player that's played a lot more for him and has been there kind of from the beginning, scored the Gold Cup winner in 2019, a player that Martino trusts a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Jonathan Dos Santos start there on Thursday, but I'd prefer to see Romo.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the options too, like within this roster, like when you look at the best D mid after Edson, like Guardado could potentially play there. Yeah, technically, Jonah can play there too. But I think it's obvious that I think that really does see Romo as that backup D mid. Might even get a start one of these 3 games as a D mid. But I also think that probably sees Romo as a potential, right center mid option as well. Not saying that's where he's going to get the most minutes, but I think he definitely prefers Romo as that D mid.
Our friends Liga MX Reddit, Guardado starts at this stage of his career. He can't give you 90 minutes, and I see JDS coming in. I see that too. That middle is, everyone knows it's Edson. I think there could be some surprises there and even
Guardado captain Real Betis over the weekend against Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
If he could do that, I think he'll be all right with Jamaica.
JDS never goes forward.
He's been getting minutes.
Romo isn't afraid to move the ball. Romo over Cordova. I definitely start Romo. He's really versatile. I'm gonna go.
I prefer Romo too. But I think I'll go Jonah.
I mean, if you ask me, I think it should be Edson, Cordova, and Romo. If I was playing them, or Edson, Charlie, and Romo. But again,
also right, it's good that there's Charlie Rodriguez who we've forgotten about in this discussion, who's one of the players with the most minutes during the Tata Martino regime as well.
Charlie Rodriguez has dropped a lot. Charlie Rodriguez has dropped a lot.
You know what? I think he has dropped a little bit, but I will say in the game against Xolos, he scored a goal. It was actually a very, very beautiful goal from Charlie Rodriguez. Maybe Orozco didn't have the best positioning there. Maybe he could have had a chance to stop the shot, but I don't know. Who knows if a goal like that, like a really impressive goal, can give him a boost in confidence.
And he had another assist, and then he also had that shot that was really close to the post. Like I think the game against Tijuana was actually very good, and he's been playing very well ever since the Olympics. So I think it's a good level. And again, we're going to bike what I think Tata Martino will actually end up choosing, not so much of who I would start, right?
Well, and that's the thing. It's 3 games. Charlie, Cordova,
Romo. You have a lot of options, which is good.
Yeah, we have a lot of options and good options. I think. I think it'll be great. It's perfect to have these games, and then the November games, which is Canada and the US, where it's just 2 games. So, your starting 11 is going to be a starting 11. All right, up front, starting with Rodolfo Pizarro. Everybody, Rodolfo Pizarro, once again, no matter what happens. Exactly. He's doing on the MLS. I think his past few weekends, I was watching him at the Miami game. And he was actually
once again, it's just one of those players, just like he knows the system, like that could easily slot him in. Like, is he the most exciting option? No, but in a World Cup qualifier, like I can see why why Tata would want to bring him in. I'm not sure if he'll be starting. I feel like Orbelín's onto something here, and I feel like Orbelín will probably start over him at left wing. But I don't know, maybe he'll get a start the second or third game.
We got Pizarro. We Tecatito Corona, who we're still not sure as of today. He's not flying the Mexican national team. Reports have him that he is finishing up either his transfer or I know that there was news about his future, which if it comes out that he's staying in Porto, like once again, like
pretty disappointing. But
every time,
pretty disappointing.
Like, all right, you got it, you got Porto, but what to do that? So he's not in just yet. Funes Mori, Raúl Jiménez, and we'll talk about Raúl right now. Henry Martin and Alexis Vega. I'm really excited to see Alexis Vega. We know exactly what you can do. We've seen it. You're doing well. Even the goal, like the run at Chivas over the weekend after the Olympics. I'm excited to see that. But really quick on Raúl Jiménez, there's still a chance, Carlos. We still could say that there's still a chance Raúl Jiménez could make it.
Yeah, Raúl Jiménez can still make it, and Tecatito Corona can still make it because if he finishes the transfer tomorrow's the deadline in Europe for the transfers. If he finishes that off, he might spend a week there, but then fly for the other 2 games. He definitely will miss the game against Jamaica for sure, regardless. But there's a chance. I still don't know. It seems like the Tecatito move to Milan is actually happening. Yeah. From what I heard, it seems like it is going to happen. And there's a chance that Milan might say like, well, you're new to the squad and whatever, just stay. You didn't travel already, you did it. The negotiations with Wolverhampton for Raúl Jiménez are still going on, and FIFA is actually also determining that they might have a sanction on the team if they don't release him. So that also will be decided probably tomorrow, the latest. But if that happens, I don't see Raúl starting against Jamaica either, especially coming back from the injury. And he'll be there, and he'll get again his reps with the team and be ready, but definitely not for Thursday.
Hey, for those that don't know, the EPL was like, hey, we're not having our players, not necessarily because they don't want them, because on the way back they have to quarantine for 10 days after, I think actually 14 days after they've come back. So you could be missing 20 days, and so some of the teams are saying not to go into the red countries, which happen to be Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico for CONCACAF, which is the group that the first ones. So we're seeing that, but then there's already some players, especially South American players, that said, screw it, I'm still going to go because that's what we're doing. So right now FIFA is kind of fighting because they're going to sanction the club. So we'll see what happens. Raúl, I think he'll come, especially if there's other players in the league and FIFA says you have to let him go. But at the same time,
it's a complicated.
What does Raúl want to do?
It's a complicated matter too, because obviously it is a health risk in the end, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. The pandemic isn't over just yet.
Salvador isn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Because it's randomized, not randomized. It's very arbitrary how that list were made. And the list that now there's going to be a joint list by the European Union, which the US is actually
on it, right?
Now, but it's up to every country, and this is go back to the lists of how they were made. The UK list has Mexico, Panama, and Costa Rica, but not El Salvador. But the Spain one might have it, or the Italy one might have it. So it's very arbitrary. It goes country by country. They select basically who comes in and who comes out. And that's the biggest problem. And that's also one of the things that FIFA it's fighting with the arbitration system, that is these countries are doing it arbitrarily, especially because if you look at the numbers, for example, the UK has had more cases in the past week than Mexico has.
Yeah.
Then they're doing the red list. So it's very complicated. COVID definitely threw a wrench on everything, and it's just being a mess ever since.
I mean, Florida and the South is pretty bad. So when you put the US not on the list, it's move that. All right. Cool. All right. Well, continuing. So who do we have on the up top? This will be interesting.
I think it's gonna be
Orbelin?
Orbelin, Funes Mori, and then Antuna.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Antuna on the right.
Yeah.
Supposing Tecatito can't come, of course.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely for the first game. I mean, against Jamaica, there's no chance Tecatito's gonna make it. So
Interesting that like we all just go Antuna as a player, but for the national team, man, like he's starting in the first World Cup qualifier.
but it's not so much if you really look at the other players, there's nobody else that plays that position like he does. And he's actually being, one of the Tata's most, called and used players. And I feel like besides, the European players, whether it's Lainez or it's Tecatito, there's nobody else who plays in that position like as often unless you put Cordova there.
Yeah, or you put Roberto
When it
Alvarado.
becomes Messi versus CONCACAF.
You could say so. I also, if Lainez is healthy, I much prefer Lainez there as well. To be the backup probably to Tecatito, right? But I think because of circumstances, Antuna is playing there, and he has had some good performances in a Mexico shirt. Is usually better in a Mexico shirt than he is with Chivas. So it's not the worst thing.
You don't have to remind me that.
To have him as your second or third option, I don't in that position.
I wouldn't be surprised if Alvarado gets minutes there as a sub, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure I think he's better on the left as a backup.
Agreed.
I don't know.
That's where I'd see.
That's where I see him. Yeah, I think Alvarado. I'm still not even entirely sure what his best position is, but I don't think it's as that right wing. I don't know if he's better as a center attacking midfielder, if it's more of a left center mid, maybe as a left winger. I think maybe he'll get some back opportunities there, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Alvarado gets some minutes as a sub on that right wing spot.
I think we're going to see a lot of players play in the next three games. Like be, I know someone said don't say rotaciones, but
that's what they're called. I mean,
it's
not like Osorio came up with them. He was just trying to explain them.
It was just because Osorio never had the same start in 11. Like he was just like.
You know what it was? It was that one Gold Cup. Was it the Gold Cup where he used a different goalie in every single?
Yeah.
Or was it the Copa America? Oh, it was the Copa America where he used a different goalie in every group stage match, and people were just like, "That's too much. You've gone too far, man." Like,
I think it was the goalies. It was the goalie part when you're like, "Don't you at least have to have that?" And then players playing out of position. But hey,
we'll just call them rotations now. But
hey, it is. All right, what are we expecting for these matches, guys? How many points does Mexico come out of? Let's hear it.
I'm actually not being optimistic, as optimistic, and I'm expecting between 5 and 7 points.
That's a big difference. 5 and 7. That could be somebody.
Well, no, that's just instead of tying the two away games, you win one of the away games. That's actually just the difference.
And you tie the home game?
No. You win the home game, but I'm not sure about the away games.
You tie both of them.
Yeah.
There's a chance you could tie both of them, and you're still in a pretty good position. Or you win 2, you tie 1, just because there's so many games back to back, and the traveling. Like there's a point where it's gonna fall short. So it's just which of these games is gonna be, right? So I'm between the 5 and 7 point range. Obviously, everybody's expecting 9, but I still don't think that visiting Costa Rica, even with these Costa Ricas, you see it, and Panama, it's going to be easy.
I think Costa Rica is the one that really has to be circled in red in terms of a chance of dropping points. Yeah. You were talking, Wiso, earlier about this being a weak Costa Rica. I would agree, and there is a new coach, but Mexico has played Costa Rica twice now in the last few months with the interim coach, who I don't believe ever won a game, or if he won a game, it was his first game in charge and then went 10 or 11 games without winning any. Mexico tied both those games 0-0, or they actually, they won the one against Costa Rica in March 1-0, but it was a 90th minute equalize or a 90th minute winner. They had a lot of trouble breaking down Costa Rica in both those games. I would expect something similar on the field, and then you're also playing in San Jose away. I think that will be a tough match for Mexico to win.
Yeah, agreed. And also, I think the big factor, too, is just like, I wasn't really that impressed by Costa Rica in the Gold Cup, but that was also Costa Rica without Keylor Navas. And I think Keylor Navas could be a huge, huge difference maker here against Mexico. So I do think, I agree with Carlos when we're looking at the predictions from these 3 games. I feel like the minimum goal for them should be 5 points. I think I can imagine them beating Jamaica. I can imagine them getting a draw against Costa Rica and then defeating Panama. So I'll go with them getting 7 points though.
2 wins. I think we're gonna get 2 wins. I don't know where.
What order?
Whether it be in soccer, Paralympics.
Yeah, for me, I think against Jamaica, although there's not gonna be a crowd. I think Mexico's be pumped. I think all the players coming in, and I think we're gonna get a win against Jamaica, especially it's not the best Jamaica. Then that Costa Rica team could be a tie. It's always hard going in there. I don't see us losing any of the games.
Yeah, at the very
Well,
least,
the 7 points and the 5 points is not losing any of the games.
Yeah. So I'm thinking 2 games and not losing any games. So we'll see there. Here's where I'm at is if Mexico somehow finds a way to lose against Jamaica, and it's
I
think that's
No.
honestly, I think that's gonna be their easiest game from these because if we thought that there was a little bit of we thought it was a little bit of a mess, with Mexico sorting out the Raul Jimenez situation or Tecatito, like Jamaica, they just literally announced their roster 2 hours ago from their unfortunately for them, they have a heavy reliance on players from England. I think from the Gold Cup roster, I think like 10 were from England. It was interesting. Even a few days ago on their Instagram account, the Jamaican Football Federation even had this like post that said like, "Give us our boys," # make an exception, asking the British government, or whatever, the EPL or someone to like relax rules. And today we saw that they announced Jamaica's roster. Yeah, there's like Mikel Antonio is going to be there. We'll see someone like Ravel Morrison. We saw him over at Atlas, actually over in Liga MX, but like a lot of those England-based players are not going to be able to play against Mexico because of COVID restrictions. So you're going to have a weaker Jamaica, and it's also a Jamaica side that's just reorganizing. Or no, I shouldn't say reorganizing, but just really trying to settle themselves in a very, very short amount of time. So I feel like Mexico have zero excuses against Jamaica. I guess you could say the same for so many other CONCACAF opponents, but very much so this one.
And the thing is that
special case for sure.
And the thing is that historically Mexico doesn't lose the games in the Azteca. They might drop one every like so often, and it's usually might be against, like it happened against Honduras and against Costa Rica. That's it. But in that qualifying time that it was really close of not making it, it was a lot of ties at home. So you're gonna face low blocks. They're gonna have exactly like Jamaica's gonna bring a low block and just hang on to the goal. So then the key for Mexico, and when they get desperate, it's not so much about losing the games, it's about not being able to win it and not being able to win it comfortably. Yeah. One of the things that I think is gonna play in their favor is actually not having the fans in the stadium, because they don't have to worry about the homophobic chant, they don't have to worry about the boos. They can focus and try to break down the defense, and they're not gonna have that external factor of noise just like on them. So even if that's the case, I think in this particular instance, opening the qualifiers again, a team that has to reorganize and they're going to be full potential as good as the Jamaica team I think it's going to be for these qualifiers in general. Being in Mexico with no fans is actually going to play in favor for the Mexican team.
Yeah, no boos in like the 30th minute. Sometimes they show up that early.
Or like in Guadalajara last Chivas game, it was like four minutes into the game. That was it. I was like, they just touched the ball.
No boos, but the altitude still. And if Jamaica, as we're thinking will happen, are going to sit in a low block, going to do a lot of defending, a lot of chasing the ball, that's a favorable situation for Mexico still, having some of the home field advantage.
And not having the Europeans is an advantage for them, because if you play players like Santi Jimenez or Cordoba, or players who actually play in El Azteca consistently, now it's going to be a factor, because there's a point where that stopped being the truth, because there's so many players coming from the outside that is like the altitude is hitting them just as bad. It's not that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah.
On spot from Carlos, Mexico becomes the worst enemy at the game progresses and desperation kicks in.
Anwar, who's actually taking a break. Anwar was actually in charge of communications for the RGV FC down in the Rio Grande Valley. That's where I met him. And then he was with Cincinnati FC when the office opened. So big shout out to him. That's always doing great work.
USL World. That's cool.
Cool. Rolling that not having fans is now positive for Mexico. It's true. It's not as bad.
We've seen those like World Cup qualifiers. Or like, what was it? We're just like the last time around. We're like, the fans at the Azteca were starting to do the ole for like the opposing team.
Mhm.
Just like, what's going on? like really? Like that's what's happening. But it's not surprising. That's
expensive.
Yeah.
Tickets are expensive. And start a GoFundMe for Cesar. What? It goes away.
He doesn't need better internet connection. He just needs to get closer to the modem.
Let's get close.
I have like a 50-foot like Ethernet cord. I should probably use that.
I have written down. I have a pen. I had a pen, and I'm gonna write it down right now. World Cup qualifying, as you've seen, it's the beginning of World Cup qualifying. I want to know you guys' prediction on who goes through to the World Cup, like officially from you. Like, all right, this is who I'm expecting to go. Obviously, everyone's gonna say Mexico, the U.S., but look at the schedule that's there.
The problem is that there's a lot of things that can happen between now and March.
I'm asking you to do it now.
If it was today,
not today, through the whole year.
No, but I'm saying if it was today, I would say the United States, Mexico, Canada, and Honduras. Today, but that could change by November.
Look at the schedule that's there. Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, United States, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Jamaica. So everybody giving Mexico. Everyone agrees Mexico and US is going to be there. Unless something.
I mean, can all of us agree that the top three is USA, Mexico, Canada? I mean, whatever. Order.
I think Honduras is a third.
I don't think Canada makes the World Cup. I'm telling you.
What? Really?
Yes, everyone's on this hype train on Canada because they tied Mexico in the semifinals.
No, it's not just because of that. They have a good roster.
And everyone, because they tied the US. I don't think Canada is as big as everyone. And I've got a lot of Canadian fans like on Twitter hating me for it. But
I'm not saying they're now like a hugely important CONCACAF team. I just say they have a good enough squad to qualify for the World Cup.
Just like Owen said, they've never played in World Cup qualifiers. Going into Costa Rica, El Salvador, Mexico, United States, like I think it's going to be really hard for them to get any points outside.
So I think you can't. I agree. I think Canada is going to finish third as well. I think Canada goes directly to the World Cup, and the reason why I think that is not just because in isolation. You played well against the United States in the Gold Cup and you played well against Mexico in the Gold Cup. It's those performances, the general Gold Cup that they had, on top of the fact that you're missing Alphonso Davies in that tournament. You're missing Jonathan David, who are your two best players. And then you're also missing Sile Larin for the knockout stages as well. So you're missing your three best forward players for that entire Gold Cup. Or I think Larin injures himself in the United States match. Yeah. And then in the semifinal against the United States, on top of that, you're missing your captain, you're probably your best center back. You're missing Eustáquio in midfield, who's become crucial for them. So you're missing about half a team of starters and crucial players on top of that. So I think Canada, now John Herdman's been there now for a long time. He's one of the I think of the coaches in CONCACAF in this octagonal outside of Whitmore. He's been there longer than anyone else in that setup. So there's a real understanding there about what the coach wants from them, maybe versus other teams where the coaches are kind of just coming in. And I think they've got the raw materials to make a good run. And then to give my prediction, I think Costa Rica, I think still with the experience, Luis Fernando Suarez is a coach who got Honduras to the World Cup in 2014, who got Ecuador to the World Cup in 2006, is really experienced taking teams that are maybe unfancied to a World Cup. And there's still talent there in Costa Rica. Brian Ruiz is old, but he's still that talent is still there. You've still got Celso Borges, you've still got Joel Campbell, Kendall Waston, Navas, as Cesar pointed out. These players haven't gone away, and they've been to World Cups. I think that's a big advantage over Honduras. Where
Brian Oviedo.
Right, Brian Oviedo as well.
So you have Mexico, US, Canada, Owen?
Yes. Yeah, and then Costa Rica.
That's out of Mexico, US, Canada.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies aren't listening to this week, because they're going to score like 4 goals against us. Like, I hope they are not listening to this, because like those guys are gonna. They might get furious after hearing.
We've stopped Alphonso Davies before, though.
I do. Jeez.
She's great, but it's not. I don't. He's,
I actually
Amy did say that I had some crazy bold takes this summer, so she's reminding me.
I mean, I saw in the comments a lot of people have Canada third. I don't see Canada third. I think Honduras takes that third place, and they made it really difficult for everybody in the Gold Cup. It's the same group. They have a lot of players coming from that team that was on the Olympic qualifying that is very good, And I feel there's a lot of people who are underestimating them. And when you underestimate, especially Honduras, and again, because at some point they're going to have el Olímpico de San Pedro Sula full with all that heat and the humidity and the people screaming. You can't sleep on Honduras. I don't think El Salvador is as well put together. They had a lot of problems with the federation, so I don't see El Salvador actually being such a powerhouse, especially at home, as they used to be in other times. And I could see Canada playing for that playoff spot, definitely, but I don't think they will be the third place.
That's a good point about Honduras, because I think that with Honduras, I mean, we're making assumptions out of this team that had COVID issues during the Gold Cup. They had several injuries too, so they could be a strong candidate. And if Albert Ellis going forward, I don't think he's involved for this current for his current call up, but like going forward, I mean, he's a very good player. I know everybody makes jokes about the Chucky, Choco Lozano, over there, but he's still a great player. Like Romero Kyoto is still a good player. Like they've got some talent there in Honduras. I'm a little worried about them defensively, but
fact checker says Mexico, Panama, El Salvador, Honduras in playoff spot. USA not in my top 7. I'm with you, Carlos, too. I think it's either Honduras and Costa Rica. And I'm just going to say Costa Rica just so we could all be different on this side.
That's good. That's a good take.
Because I do think that there's a lot of it down here. This is the Canada not making it to the World Cup. Well, Canada not making it
to the playoff.
Maybe they make it to the playoff. Maybe.
Okay.
They could make it to the playoff.
But I think Honduras and Costa Rica make it to the playoff, one of those. But I'll go with Costa Rica. Because of the experience, I think it's going to be really hard for anybody to beat Costa Rica in El Nacional. And they've played everywhere else, and it's the same. Like and there's some youngsters in there too, and you have a coach that knows how to get teams to World Cup. You said it, so I'm gonna go with CR. I just don't see, like, if we're looking at all the hostile places, I think Canada's at the bottom of the list. People are going to go there and like, it's not going to be that, it's Vancouver or it's everyone's so friendly. It's like they're, I feel like it's not when you go to Cuscatlán, El Azteca, and the US takes you to Alaska, which is not happening, but it takes you to like some cold place, like everywhere else. And I think Canada's at the bottom. Jamaica, it's hot, depends on when you're at, but yeah, so that's where I feel like maybe Canada's not going to, I think there's going to be a lot of points that they're going to miss at home. And they're not going to get that many away. So I know the Canadians are going to hate me, but
also Jamaica's going to be a wild card. I know Mexico, I'm saying that they have no excuses against Jamaica, and I know it might be a little difficult for them because, COVID restrictions, but I mean, with their full squad and their full roster, like they could potentially cause some trouble. And I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in at 4th. I'm not going to say a top 3 spot, but maybe at the end of all this, I wouldn't be surprised if Jamaica are also in
I don't think so.
The situation with Jamaica that you have to keep in mind, in addition to the question of will they be allowed to field Mikel Antonio, some of these other really important players, will this be an issue in October, in November, in future windows moving forward in this octagonal process? On paper, you're looking, okay, if they can field the front 3 of Mikel Antonio, who's been incredible at West Ham so far in the Premier League, Leon Bailey, who's done it at Leverkusen, has now earned a big money move to Villa. And then Bobby Reed, who was good in the Gold Cup, was in the Premier League last year with Fulham. That's a scary front line to have to deal with. But then you're also saying, okay, Antonio has never played for Jamaica. A lot of these big players don't have that much.
Sure.
Yeah. A lot of their big names, the cavalry that's getting called, and have no experience with Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
And subsequently, the rest of the players in the squad have no experience playing with them, maybe having to get used to Whitmore's tactics, Whitmore getting used to those players. So there's a betting in process that you don't have any time for, right? There's no friendlies to now, okay, how are we going to play for Antonio? How is Antonio going to get used to his teammates? You're going to have to throw him into World Cup qualifiers, which is a blessing in a sense for Jamaica that they can call on these players, but it's also an added difficulty from a tactical perspective.
Oh, most definitely.
And not only that, but when you got to manage the minutes, if you have those 3 games back to back, the Premier League is still not going to like for them to go all out. And even the player thinks about it. And the problem is the big drop off you have of quality between that front 3 and Michael Antonio and who's behind him. Because when you don't have such big of a drop off, it's a little different. It's a little better. But I think that's going to be the problem with Jamaica to sustain. Like they might have a really good showing, and then the next one not look so good, and there's going to be a lot of questions like why it's happening, especially because of that management. Somebody was asking if we see the U.S. and Mexico being at top of qualifying. I'm going to say it today, and I don't want everybody to hate me. I know we're all Mexican. And
I don't think we're going to be first.
But the U.S. is going to be first on this qualifying, I think. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get a ticket.
Honestly, all I care is that Mexico qualifies. I think that's all I care. That's all I care.
There's priorities.
The U.S. is going to be a very, very smart. They're going to have they're going to play for those points. It's that time of the U.S. now that the U.S. does this really, really good job is qualify. They'll get the points where they need it. They're not going to try to make a statement anywhere, and they'll be probably at first. Mexico will falter one, but it's like Mexico could get a win in the U.S. for qualifiers, but they'll still lose a game somewhere. Maybe not Aztecaso, but drop like 3 points on the road somewhere. But I definitely am with Carlos there. It just seems like the U.S. is just trying to make a statement. I think we'll be in the quinto partido, but we're not getting there yet. I wanted to, that's a question. That's where I go. I think Mexico qualified third, second, have the U.S. first. It doesn't matter as long as we're there. Cesar and Owen, do you think Mexico will be at the top?
I think so. History would tell us that no. So 1994, they qualified first. Then from there until the last qualifying cycle, they failed to qualify first, right? Last qualifying cycle, they finally did again. But I think the key factors on paper, you're looking at the names that the U.S. can bring. You'd expect them to finish first. I think the question mark there is the experience and the familiarity with the qualifying process. Berhalter's never been there and done that. Most of the players haven't been there either. Most of the players weren't there in the 2018 qualifying cycle. So it's a completely new experience for them, whereas a lot of the Mexico players have been to multiple World Cups. I think that could end up being a factor. We'll have to see. But I would expect, I predict Mexico finishes first.
Oh, Owen.
I think Mexico finishes first, but honestly, just as long as they're within the top three, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't think it's any, maybe I'll be proven wrong here by someone who actually looks up the stats, but I don't think finishing first, second, or third is an actual indicator of how well you do in the World Cup immediately.
No, not at all. We was the worst. I think the worst qualifying that we've had in the last 25 years is our best World Cup in 2014. So, not at all.
Yeah.
I got to throw in this from our friend Afro Ivan's. Is the U.S. going to call up Jake Paul as a goalkeeper? All right, let's not win today. Good job, Ivan. Follow him at Afrozander on Twitter. Hilarious. Great writer, too. Wait, I think Amy, I want to get her take because then she'll be like, you said this. So hold on a second. Let me see if our production. Amy, you there? I know you're on there. There she is. We just need your prediction. We just need your prediction.
No, why do you put me on the show? I don't give predictions. That is my rule. I don't give predictions because then I can prove you wrong when you give a bad prediction.
What are the three teams that are going to make it? Mexico's not going to make it? Not even that?
Plus 3. I don't care.
This is why we bring him back. All right, fine. All right, fine, Amy. Fine. We won't get there. She's out. All right. Mexico qualifies limping and bleeding, but I won't care. That's how it is. Hopefully we won't need Vasco Aguirre to save Mexico again, and we will be happy. There is a percentage of
he's close by now. He's close by now, right?
There's a percentage from Two Balls and a Mic, our friends, another podcast. There's a percentage that does have this 5.5% that Tata is gonna just be stubborn and then just go, what am I doing? Because the qualifiers. I don't know. There's a little bit of because I kind of saw that with the Nations League, with the Gold Cup, and everything just kind of.
And remember what happened to Chepo? I mean, there's always no guarantee. The thing is that there's no guarantees in soccer. We're talking about from what we're looking at the rosters and what they look today, but there's no guarantees. I mean, Chepo de la Torre spent 2 years and a half undefeated. Amazing. And then all of a sudden the 3 games he had to win, he tied them, and that's what happened. So I don't know.
Things can unravel very, very quickly as a
right
when you're a Mexican.
And there's no the honeymoon period is also over for Tata after this summer. I think that's a potential worry for Mexico. I think given the way the Mexican press can be and how important these games are, I think even if Tata had gone the first 2.5 years undefeated and had won both of the tournaments this summer, a couple of bad results in World Cup qualifiers and the knives will be out. But the knives will be quicker to come out now given what's happened this summer. And I think that
Yeah.
could end up being a distraction. You don't want to have to change coaches in the middle of the process. We hope that doesn't happen, but it's a possibility, right? And if that happens, that's obviously a problem for Mexico, and it means things aren't going well in World Cup.
I know we're saying that USA will continue to struggle on the road. I don't think they'll be finishing on top. Having CONCACAF club-based players has its benefits. So, I still haven't seen this USA team be an amazing team and beat anybody that's good. I feel like we beat ourselves, and maybe that's just because the fandom's coming in. But even the Gold Cup, I have not seen it. It was a penalty kick that Guardado missed. Everyone's on this hype train of the USA. That's actually really, really good, because if Mexico would have won the Gold Cup, the pressure on them, like now the US has some pressure to do well in World Cup qualifying. Now Pulisic and company, who missed out in the World Cup 4 years ago, they have to perform. So. I think Mexico's do well against the U.S. I'm not saying we're going to take the 6 points on both of them, but I don't see it in hasta caso, and I think it's going to be a really good game in Nashville because no excuses.
I think that's a game that is going to decide why it goes on top or not, because I don't see Mexico taking all the points away on the road either, and that's going to be the decisive factor is going to be who wins that home. Because if the U.S., which is completely capable of it, because you already showed it, it doesn't matter if you beat yourselves. It is the same thing. You're still facing that same team. If they're able to win the game at home and tie in Mexico, which they've done it before, if there's like a 1-1 tied in Mexico and they win the one in Nashville, that's it. That's going to push them on top. And that's how I see it. I feel like there's a little, jump that Mexico has to do mentally to beat this U.S. team, especially after the 2 games that happened in the summer, to actually, go ahead them. If they can beat them in Nashville, or pull a tie in Nashville, then Mexico will definitely be at the top of the
Also, it's in Cincinnati, isn't it? It's
Cincinnati.
Yes.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's with all those expansion teams.
It's Cincinnati.
It's not. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Cincinnati.
It's a little bigger than Nashville, I think. Right? The stadium is a little bit bigger. And that's where I'm saying. I'm like, I think the pressure's on the U.S. and Mexico faces the U.S. first, right? So in Nashville, so it's after
Cincinnati.
I don't know why I keep saying Nashville.
You wanted them to go to Nashville.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's go. We'll have it there. All right. Yes, and we're saying Cincy. All right. We've gone a little bit over an hour. Lots of people on the chats. Lots of people watching us. It's gonna be fun. Carlos, you said you had some news. You're gonna let us know?
No, not yet. Okay.
Okay.
It'll be coming up. So now we're all ecstatic to see what Carlos is, right? I'll be heading over there, and for the first game in Jamaica and Mexico, I'll be traveling on Wednesday. I also have some cool news working with CBS as an associate producer down there. So yeah, it'll be kind of maybe my first time working with them and bringing some cool content, stories, and hopefully we see some on the future. But I know that there's so many ways that you can watch the game. I know Univision will have them. Telemundo will have the other 2, right, in Spanish, Carlos?
Yeah, that is correct. We're going to have both the games against Costa Rica and Panama, and obviously there will be like an hour and a half preview that we got prepared for you. Well, we in general, it will be
those games. Is it Cantor?
Cantor Emmanuel, as well as Hermosillo, and then obviously the preview with Ana Yurka and Miguel Gurwitz, kind of like on the hub, because those are not the only games we have. Actually, our coverage starts on Thursday with El Salvador against the U.S., so you want to watch that one in Spanish too. We'll be having it because we have all the qualifiers for all the Central American teams. So stay tuned with us.
The Olympics, I thought you guys did an amazing job. Telemundo did an awesome job. It was through, you hear Andres' voice in the qualifying, it's important. Like when you hear it, and especially Telemundo team, and Manuel Sol too. Awesome guy. Great guy. Who calls it. Good job. On the English side, I mean, you also have To The N, and Adriana works at To The N, and throw some in there, all the things that they do. We're all coming together here. On the CBS side, lots of new voices, and now they're putting in a little more Mexican. Obviously, they have the Mexico game, and Janely Farias is going to be on the field. I'll be over there doing some production for them. You're going to have some, hopefully PBA, some fans and some fan stories that I'm trying to get the people to see. So lots of cool things. And then I think they also have the other games too. Actually, I'm pretty sure they do in English. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So let us know. Carlos always does some cool shout outs. So if you're watching Chivas games, definitely I'm in there.
Definitely. If you send me a message during the week or right before the game or even during the game, it's always there.
Amy is telling us that she's got to go because she's got her own game. So the production is we're running now free. We all have that. All right, Carlos, welcome back. Qualifiers are here, so here we go. We're gonna keep doing these live shows. Thank you so much for being on the chat. Thank you for sharing it. Owen up in Boston, and then our buddy Cesar, who known for a long time, and this is another qualifying game. This is our third qualifiers. Cesar.
Yeah, our third qualifiers here on the Nashville Soccer Show.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll talk to you all later. Adios, everybody on the chat. Hasta la próxima.